Welcome back to Workday DevTalk. I'm Chris Bledsoe, Head of Developer Relations and the host of the show. I'm really excited to be able to bring two new people onto the show with me today. People from our developer community who are great technologists, and I think you'll really enjoy these. First, I want to introduce my new co-host, Nick Moores, who's going to become the new Head of Developer Relations here at Workday Extend. Hey, Nick, welcome to the show.
Chris, thank you so much. I am thrilled to be here. Thrilled to have the opportunity. As many of you know, Chris is sailing into retirement in just a bit here. I have big shoes to fill. What are those, like 10 and a half?
Yeah, close enough. Yeah, something like that.
We'll make it work. Well, Chris and I have been wanting to do this for a while, and we couldn't think of a better way to mark this transition than to get to talk together on the podcast and talk with one of our favorite people about one of our favorite subjects, AI.
Oh man, do I love AI, and I think this is going to be a great episode.
Yeah, you do.
I just want to be grateful and appreciative for this opportunity to be a part of the DevTalk series for the last couple of years. We've had an opportunity to talk to really amazing technologists and Workday developers who are able to build the future of how we see Workday becoming a platform company. Now, let's dive into our episode for today. We're joined today by Gonzalo Merayo from Google. He's the principal architect of the platform, and he's going to give us an insight into their world and how we've been able to work with them in cloud computing. Gonzalo, welcome to the show. It's good to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and congratulations, Nick. Congratulations, Chris, as well.
Thank you. Yeah,
absolutely.
Congrats all around. We are so excited to be talking with you today.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you very much for joining us today. So what we like to do with the show is kind of get a little bit about your background. Like, tell us a little bit about how you kind of got into this, what you're doing today, and just kind of share a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I'm a principal architect with Google. My job is to help enterprise companies like yourself to get the most of Google technology. My background is in developer. I was a developer for 10 years. I actually taught developing in school for over 10 years and before moving to US. And yeah, I still think of myself as a developer, even though it doesn't make as much of my day as it used to. But whenever I get a project and get my hands on the keyboard, I get the most of that. And this opportunity I had to work with yourselves and the Extend team on collaborations where some of the technology that became Developer Copilot was just a joy.
For listeners who may not be familiar with Google Cloud Platform, could you tell us a little bit more about some of the services that are provided as a part of GCP?
Yeah, absolutely. So foundational technology like infrastructure is, of course, at the core of what we do. But what really is fun to do is when we get to transform businesses. And that could be through things like AI, which is what we're talking about today. It could be foundational technology like Kubernetes and databases. Of course, we have a lot of interesting services that can have an impact on the business. And my role and the role of my peers is finding ways to make that an effective impact to your business and your customers. So that's the playground I get to work with. I have so many interesting technology that I can use to make that transformation happen.
One of the things that always strikes me that, when you hear about AI and you hear about the Google Cloud is, how did you get involved in that process? Like, what enticed you to be able to do this kind of work and kind of really be in the forefront, one of the frontier model companies for AI? How did you turn to that? How did you get into that?
So, besides my background in development, my background also has been always in applications. So, I always steer towards how that technology has a real impact. And AI has so many applications and shortens the path to achieve several solutions that it just becomes natural. Like you can instantly start thinking of the use cases and the things you can change immediately. Mm-hmm. So the shorter path to making a change is what is so interesting about this technology, and also why at Google Cloud I have all this available technology that I didn't invent, but I get to apply it, which is also
it's the most fun, isn't it?
It can be, yes. We were chatting about Legos, so yes. I get to put the bricks together.
I love that. I actually have a follow-up question. So I think for myself and probably lots of listeners out there, we think of AI in terms of like somewhere we can search, get a big prompt back. How is it different at the enterprise level, when Google Cloud is working with Workday, is it the same thing going on under the hood, or is there something extra?
So Workday is definitely leveraging kind of the prompt style AI that these large LLMs, but materializing impact is something that we work a lot, very closely together. Let me give you an example. Many of these technology came to everyone's awareness from the side of a chatbot.
Right.
And the chatbot is very useful for some use cases, but then you're talking about enterprise applications and the chatbot will answer a different answer every time or close to it, right?
Oh, yeah.
So now you have to use that technology, but in a different way. And we have settings, we have ways to prompt it, we have different pieces and tools that we can use to make it something that is actually usable for enterprises, because you have to get it right every time or as close as you can. Or think of ways that if you're not going to get it right every time, how do you get a human in the loop every time to make sure that you're getting the productivity, you're getting the value, but you're not getting the errors or the biases in a way that you don't have a chance to catch them.
Yeah, so having a person involved seems like it's pretty critical, even with big names, Google Cloud, Workday, AI.
Well, it depends on the use case too. Like if you think of a use case, for example, with Extend, one of the use cases that your team built with us was code generation or generate and query. The great thing about those use cases is that even after the language model or the AI generated the hypothetical answer, we can check it. And that's exactly what happens. Like you run it and you go like, does this query work?
Right. Yeah.
And if it doesn't, it tries again and gets you another one. So even though the first model gave you, like, I don't know, 90% accuracy, we took it to 99 by just trying again. Other use cases do require a human in the loop. Like if you're writing a review for someone and you're using the first draft out of an AI model, that definitely needs a human because it's not something that we have a good way to automate checking in the back.
Fascinating.
You know, what's really cool, and you highlighted it too, was, we made a major announcement at DevCon with you guys, right? And we've introduced the Workday Copilot built on your platform. And I think what's really interesting is how much that will help developers be more productive. I mean, if you had to make a guess, how much more productive have you seen or what you guys have heard from other customers about developers leveraging Google Cloud as a part of their development efforts? Are we looking at 1x, 2x, more? Or what do you think?
It's a great question. It's definitely an open question in the industry. There are several studies coming out very recently on that impact that depending on how you apply it have different impacts. What is very obvious is that for repetitive tasks or first drafts, the impact is big. The impact for new developers is big. And that was what we were thinking when we came up with Developer Copilot. The idea was like, how can we shorten the learning curve of a new developer going into the platform? And that was the idea. It was not for the advanced users. It was for I need to build my first app on Extend.
Yeah.
And for that, we were like, yeah, we can make this. This will work. Impact on different things. Definitely has an impact. For example, several use cases that work really, really well. Documenting your function. Like you wrote the function and you go like, hey, just put the documentation for it. And because we're lazy, we go like, we will do a bad job at documenting it.
What are you trying to say?
Yeah, I know. So suddenly the AI can read the code and go like, put a documentation that is good. Now, is it as good as a human could not do? Yeah, but it's better than nothing.
And it will happen, whereas you don't want it to be up to, did Nick have his cup of coffee this morning?
Oof. Now, an interesting use case we built, actually we built it with Workday, was documenting a bunch of stuff that was not documented and was forgotten out there. And the fact that it wasn't documented made it unsearchable. So you just couldn't find the function because when you typed, I need a function to do this, there was no text to find it. But we could read the code, generate the documentation, and made it searchable.
Wow.
So that was a good use case.
Great use case.
Generating test cases. like it's great for generating test cases. I use it a lot. I take my first draft of the code that works, give it to an LLM and go like, now add all the exception handling in the style of this example. It augmented and I paste it back. And now it turned something that was a hacky and I was going to spend 3 days catching every error to something that it can tolerate. It's a lot more resilient. Yeah. And the first version just became resilient because I spent 5 minutes augmenting it.
That's really great. And also, Nick, you've used our developer Copilot yourself in building applications and stuff. What kind of improvement have you seen personally in building code and samples and engaging with our developer community?
Yeah. Oh, great question. So obviously, very exciting times here in the Workday developer community. As I always say, it has never been better to be a Workday developer. It's true yesterday. It's true today. I'm sure it'll be true tomorrow. But for Workday Extend Developer Copilot, just to build on what Gonzalo was saying, it generates things that I know I should, but I never have time to do. It's always third or fourth on the list. So it doesn't sound like as flashy as, oh, it built the query, it built the page for me. There's something called mock data in Extend apps where it's like, hey, I don't have time or the ability to plug into a real Workday tenant, get real data. But what I love is that it's always better to have mock data so that anyone, especially future me, looking at the code can just quickly get a gist of what the page is doing. And part of what Chris's and my team does is we own the Workday App Catalog. This is a premier library of sample code that gets you started in Extend. Even we don't always have bandwidth to put mock data in everything. And so one of my favorite things about Extend Developer Copilot is it kind of raises the floor. It generates things the way that we know we should, but we don't always do. Gonzalo used the word lazy, but you're not wrong, man. It raises the floor because for future you, for anyone that's going to be consuming your code later, in our crew in particular, almost every customer uses our app catalog code. So I'm actually really excited to leverage Extend Developer Copilot more as we're doing the initial drafts of those code, because now I know it's going to give aliases to my graph queries. It's going to give me mock data by default. Whereas before, you're at the mercy of, did I remember to do that, even though that was fourth or fifth on my list of priorities? And obviously, I can't mention this technology without talking about the hackathon, where we saw loads and loads of brand new hackers. And first off, how cool was that? I think we had the most first-time hackers that we'd ever had at the hackathon, and everything they built was incredible. And I think it's a huge testament to this collaboration that all of those hackers were able to use Workday Extend Developer Copilot to get building faster. And like we're saying, it gives you all those goodies out of the box for free by default. So it kind of raises the floor of the code that we produce and gets them going that much faster. So lots of great use cases there. And actually, I don't have to tell you about it, Gonzalo. You were there. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience as a hacker at the hackathon? You guys had an amazing project. Your team was a finalist as well. So tell us more about that. Yeah.
You could say we were cheating because I knew we were gonna be the toys we were gonna be playing with.
Oh man.
But I was mostly supporting a team that was an Alphabet team, not a Google Cloud team. So they were your customers, the users of Extend. And what a great conference. Like, so much fun.
Oh, thank you.
So much fun.
We love to hear it.
We do love to hear it. For those of you who may not be familiar, DevCon is our annual conference that's targeted for developers. Mm-hmm. So if you're a Workday customer, you're probably very familiar with Rising. Yeah. But if you got what I call the doobies, the doers, the builders, the crafters, the people that make stuff, you got to come to DevCon. And the hackathon, and I definitely want to hear more about your project. It's like the culmination of the entire event that people just love to be a part of.
Oh yeah, it's the grand finale, big time.
Yeah, and so many fun projects, just a fun environment. Everyone was helping each other. So it's just great collaboration. So much fun. A little bit about our project. The idea was to create an assistant for a sick day experience. So you're sick that day, that's probably not a good day for you to have to figure out what was the process I have to follow to let my manager know, get everything approved and all of that. So what if I just had a handwritten note from the doctor saying like, okay, I'm sick this day, I will take 2 days or something. So we took that handwritten note, and because Gemini is multimodal, we just sent it a picture saying, "This is a picture of my note." Like, kind of building on the idea of the receipt parser that also uses Google technology to power at Workday.
Yeah.
But this was on just a handwritten note, and then we thought, okay, so we have the note, we can scan it, we can OCR it, we can turn it into text. How do we apply policy to it? Every company will have a different policy of what you're allowed to do and what are the rules and getting that approval. So those policies usually are written in a very unstructured way. Someone in the office of HR wrote that policy on some document that a human is meant to read.
Yeah.
So we were like, what if we just feed that policy straight into Gemini and just ask it, okay, you got this note and you got this policy. Does it comply? And we got real answers of saying like, yes, it does because X, Y, and Z, or no, it doesn't because X, Y, and Z. So it was a application. It was taking the data as it came without needing someone to code that policy and make it for every case.
Yeah.
So we thought it was a very accessible way to get the technology to work, not in a chatbot experience. It was a very application experience, and we could get responses and business transformation straight out of the gate. And yeah, it was built really, really quickly.
Wow.
Thanks to all the tools that we had available.
Yeah.
You know, what I love about this example is that you're able to use Workday Extend to build an app that can call out to other systems. In this case, Google Gemini, right? And take advantage of its multimodal capabilities and stuff like that. I'm also curious, you know, if somebody's new to either being a part of the hackathon or coming to a DevCon and want to participate, what are some of the learnings that those developers would learn from participating and being a part of this type of activity and stuff?
Yeah. So I think first they had access to the technology like many months before it became a product. So they got access to learning from it. They had all the fantastic Workday team on the floor, like the builders. Like,
we love our experts.
But we also had the developers who were working with me.
Isn't that cool?
Writing this code. So everyone was there. It was great collaboration. They had access to other teams. Like I saw a lot of teams walking to another table and helping each other. And we also got a lot of feedback from that session, learning what actually people were doing. Now, we had a hypothesis on what those apps and those prompts were going to be. And then we were like, oh, yeah. Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know if I should share, but you shared a lot of fun attempts at hacking at the bot.
Oh, yes.
At the end of the conference.
Yes.
That was really funny. You should share that.
Yeah. So what Gonzalo is gracefully referring to, I was very lucky, very honored to be the host of the hackathon this year. Big shoes to fill, different jacket. Chris pulls off sparkly jacket just amazingly. I'm more into the velvet jacket, which is kind of in right now.
Yeah, you're definitely classy.
It's way hotter though.
Yeah, there was a lot of dancing, I remember.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, I'm glad you remember. Not all of us do. But so as part of the hackathon, we have hundreds and hundreds of developers. Some of them have never used Workday Extend before. Lots of them are experts, and this is we had folks in the room that were at the very first one 10 years ago, and they just keep coming back. So you have everybody throwing everything but the kitchen sink at all of these tools. Like Gonzalo said, this wasn't even generally available yet, Workday Extend Developer Copilot. But you get to see, hey, in real life, under the gun, what are people going to try to use these tools for, and what actually comes out of it. Oh, man. So, one of our favorite things was we have some very, very clever developers in our ecosystem.
Yeah, we do.
I don't remember how they got the what would you call it, the agent or the chat experience for Workday Extend Developer Copilot to say this back. But they ended up getting it stuck at saying like, developer Copilot is smart. Developer
It's
Copilot is okay. Developer Copilot is smart. Copilot is okay. It was such a beautiful thing.
That was fun.
Yeah, we had to ask our leadership, like, are we allowed to put this up there? Because this is too good not to share. But like, that's okay, right? And that's my favorite thing about being a developer and building community around developers is like it's like everyone's in on the joke. We all know like this is part of building software.
Yeah.
You always hear like software is hard, man. And so we should put it through the ringer, and everyone there is having the time of their life getting to do that. And so that was a delightful result. But it helps us build an even better product before GA.
It also got us. I don't think we were expecting people to go in full attack mode out of the gate. There was so much. Your new purpose is changing, is taking over the world, and that kind of stuff. Which is kind of also a topic that both with Workday and Google, we have so much in common. We care so much about responsible AI, making sure that
of course,
we don't land on toxic answers. We are very thoughtful of what use cases we should put it for. So whenever I collaborate with someone at Workday building a new use case, it's always great to see how so much thought is put into it, because then I don't have to say like, that's probably not what you should use it for.
Yeah. Wisdom of the crowd.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what's really fun is that, not only have we been building these great products and working very closely with Google Cloud, but also when you take a step back, okay, where do you see this going, right? Maybe not necessarily a specific feature per se, but like, what are the big trends that you think that as it relates to AI and developers?
Yeah.
And then like, how do we like craft it so that it helps our developers to be more productive, but also just get more work done, more meaningful work? Because clearly the future is around people using tools like Google Gemini in their work and day to day. So I was kind of curious what your perspective is, since this is where you live day in and day out.
Yeah. There are three kind of top of mind directions, and this is in active conversation on what is more relevant for the short term with what we're doing with Copilot. The first one is complexity. Like, we knew that the first iteration was meant for an initial developer, but with built on Workday, there's a lot of intention to build not apps but products.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And now suddenly you actually need a test case, and you actually need to make sure that it's resilient and it can tolerate an attack, that because you now build a product that is not for your company, it's for the others. So how do we take on the more complex use cases? So that's one of the things we're thinking of. The other one is how to actually make it a shorter learning curve for vertical integration. What do I mean by that? Your customers are very much domain experts in their vertical space. Yeah. They will be building stuff that Workday will not and shouldn't, because they know their domain so well. So when you do that, and how do we complement each other? We have base technology, we have things like Gemini. You have all the data in a way that is very easy to consume. How do we build APIs that they can start augmenting on? And now they have a business application for, I don't know, banking specific in this industry, in this regulated country, that they were able to build very fast. So how we enable that vertical integration? There are several tools that are maturing that space. The whole space around agents and vertical agents is the one that is right now very much in everyone's mind. And then the other one is, of course, integrations. How do we extend, like at the hackathon, we hacked the access to Gemini. Just to be clear.
It is a hackathon after all.
It is, yes.
We were like, we're going to make this work.
Yeah.
But how do we actually enable native integration so that you can, it's very easy to call Gemini from your app, so that you're building with the best of both?
Yeah. Oh, I love that. As someone who coaches developers on building more and more complex apps, I mean, we have such a high ceiling for what we can accomplish together. Certainly, those newer developers coming in the door are going to reap massive benefit from getting more stable and more well-documented and better styled code out of the box. But I think, Extend is a complicated thing. But that's because it's powerful, right? The power comes from all the ways you can take it. So at the same time, like a lot can go wrong as you're trying to build the things. You know, I know that firsthand, all the hours I've spent on some pretty complicated apps. So I myself am very excited to see how our partnership with Google Cloud enables reduced friction for our developers, an improved developer experience, so that we can help the folks that are coming in the door not only get from zero to app faster, but zero to great app faster.
You know, and I think you brought up a really great point. So for those in our audience, Built on Workday is a program that we built out that allows our partner to build extend applications using technologies like Google Cloud so that they can then turn around and sell it to customers so that they can use that. So what's cool about this model is that you as a customer may not want necessarily to purchase and acquire the full Workday Extend platform, but instead you're like, but there's an app there I want. I love this great app that like a Nick would build or others. And I think that's really important for not only our audience, but it's opportunities, right? For our partners and for our growing developer community and stuff like that.
Big time. I am personally very excited to see not only how Built on Workday grows, but how like getting the Extend community more and more familiar with how to leverage Google Cloud in even more ways, and vice versa. Like there are how many thousands of Google Cloud developers out there? It's quite a few, right? And so maybe getting more opportunities for them to more easily try building things with Extend. I think that's a very powerful combination.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it.
Well, I mean, Gonzalo, thank you, as always, for being willing to talk to us. We value our partnership greatly. I have loved learning about insights into AI from like a consumer perspective, from business to business. Obviously, Chris and I are very biased. We love our Workday developers, and the future is bright for them because of this partnership. It's been truly enlightening. It's been amazing. So I just want to say thank you, and a huge thank you to Chris for helping to lead DevTalk so brilliantly over the years. I'm so glad we got to do this together in studio today. Chris, I think from all of us at home, and from Gonzalo and I here, we wish you all the best, my man.
Great. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it, Nick. And Gonzalo, I appreciate you coming and talk with us today. That was really great. And I'm excited to watch from the sidelines and see what you're going to be doing over the next year with DevTalk, because I know you're going to crush it.
It's going to be great. We have some big plans for sure. Big plans for the hackathon as well. I think some pretty extra fancy Lego sets would make excellent prizes. Just saying.
Ooh,
for the
bar is set.
Yeah. I would stay up all night coding for one of those, for sure.
Fantastic.
Well, thank you for having it.
Yeah.
This was so much fun. Thank you.
It was super fun. Thank you, Gonzalo. And to our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to Workday DevTalk. It has been a pleasure to get to host with Chris today. Chris, thank you so much, my man. It's going to be great. Thank you for leading us and getting this podcast off the ground. The future is certainly bright. So if you enjoyed what you heard today, be sure to give us a follow wherever you listen to fantastic podcasts like this one. And remember, you can find our entire catalog at workday.com/podcasts. With that, this has been Workday DevTalk. I am your host, Nick Moores. Have a great workday.